Hey, sexy smarties, this is Elfie for another live. I'm just talking today about how to develop your ability to learn, just like one of the masters, Sam Walton. So, I didn't actually know about this guy until recently, and he is actually the one of the guys who's amazing when it comes to learning and being able to just consistently be in the state of growing every day. This guy did this all the way up to his deathbed, and even in his book, and a lot of the stuff I'm pulling from is actually from his book. Talks about how he learned and how he just kept on growing and going from a guy who was nothing. He had nothing. He was flat broke, scratch, and then he grew to becoming the owner. He owned and started Walmart, which basically made him have the biggest impact in America for employment and in Mexico for employment. They're the number one employer of people, and the world's largest retailer and second largest corporation in the world at the time of my information. So, hey Renee, how you doing? What's been happening for you? Love to hear from you. And I'd love to hear as well from you and everyone else down below your ideas when it comes to learning and how do you keep learning how to learn. It's been a massive passion of mine for the last 10 years is learning exactly how to learn best. So here we go straight from him with some thoughts from me as well. So the first couple of points that he brings up will set you up on the right path for learning, right? So it's good to know how to learn and to keep be hungry for information, but to actually pick the right information to learn about is probably more important even than learning itself. So first off, work around your weaknesses. So, this guy was a terrible driver, he was hopelessly disorganized, and he basically never learned how to handwrite properly. And yet, he did that, and he still worked around those things. He worked with what he wasn't good at and took that into account in how he was. And in fact, when he got his first full-time job, Sam was told by the person in charge of personnel that he would fire him if he wasn't such a good salesman. Maybe you're not just cut for retailer, right? Maybe you're just not cut for retail. And it turns out he's now become, the person who started the best and biggest retailer ever. So, his other point is to just build on your strengths. It's the opposite of the first one. So he was a great leader and a team builder. So think about what are your strengths and focus on those. Use the 80-20 rule. If you can spend as much of your time, say 80% of your time doing the stuff you're really, really good at, 20% of the time doing the stuff that you have to do, then you'll do well. Even if it's a matter of hiring somebody and paying somebody $5-10 an hour to do something you don't do well, so you can spend more time using your gift in your flow, it will have you make a lot more money in the end. Hey, Thorin and Angela, welcome to the cast. Let me know your thoughts. So then here comes the big parts that he was talking about. So he's talked first off about learning from doing, right? So he basically learned hard work and people skills over time. So he essentially, sorry, I'm just getting a little bit hot. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to turn this bad boy down and off. Oh, I want to be able to be present with you guys. So excuse me for a second there as I do that. He learned through working in different shops and what have you when he came out of uni to be a hard worker. Something I really need to learn a bit more from because I've always learned to work smart and little as possible. But it's definitely changing now. I've been getting into this hard work thing. It feels more fun than just relaxing, actually, if it's something that we're really passionate about. So key is find what you're really, really passionate about and do that, get into that, and learn to love that. So my recent thing is Idea Sex Live. I love doing that, and it's just been amazing, just being in flow with that, feeling like I'm being the full expression of myself. So what's your full expression? A couple of points coming in here, so we'll just address those now. Angela spends too much time avoiding what I don't want to be doing. So one thing you could do with that is just eat the frog, they say. Like, do the thing that you're avoiding doing the most first in the day. And then let everything else be a reward from there. Like, it's almost like the other work can be a reward. So, yeah, there are things that we're going to have to do that we don't want to do. Make those the very first things we do. Renee, I'm quite inquisitive, and employers love that in me. But I find sometimes it can annoy people who have passions that outshine their lack of passion, but that never stops you. To quote Pokemon, hang on, I want to catch this. I want to be the very best. I also love meeting new people who have my annoying traits, who then give me perspective on how I can be coming across to others and learn and adjust accordingly. Yes. So yeah, definitely attaching and connecting with people who can bounce off each other. I've got a very cool point on that, actually, a very cool process you can do with that, Renee, coming later on in the video. So stay tuned right now. Getting a formal education. I would say do this if it's relevant. He went and studied business, so of course that was relevant. I believe a lot of us don't actually know what we really want to do early in life, so I'd recommend, not going to university straight away and just exploring, travel the world, discover your passion. But then when you do, it might really help to go get a formal education. He says get a mentor. Absolutely. So he had a guy called Duncan Majors, who was like one of the first retailers he worked for, and he went and like hung out with this guy every day, and they were working together for 6 days a week. But even on his seventh day, he would go over and play ping pong and play cards and just talk retail ideas with these people who were he was working with. So that's pretty cool. If you can get a cool mentor, tap into them hard. Some people will just do it for free because they're amazing people and they want to give, and others you might need to pay for. I have a whole range of different mentors. Some I pay for, some I don't. A lot of them I do pay for because you want to pay and get their best. You're doing a value trade, so you're giving them some value, and they'll give you value equally as well. I do have a startup I just launched a couple of days ago called oeincubator.com, and that is a page where you can actually get a mentor as well. Funnily enough, I've got a whole stack of mentors there specifically for business and creating financial independence. So if you want to become an entrepreneur, or you already are, then I would certainly recommend you have a mentor if you're in the process of doing that. But really, we need mentors in all things in life, so do it. Learning from books and publications he talks about. So when he was in the army, he was posted in Salt Lake City, and he couldn't keep doing his normal thing, so he just went and checked out every book on retailing he could find in the library, and he would just sit there and read them in his barracks. Like, that is how committed this guy was to learning. I've never heard of someone this committed to learning as this guy, who I've just recently discovered. I would recommend, by the way, rather than books these days, executive summaries of books, or there's videos that tie together a lot of the cool things you get from reading an entire book. A lot of us don't have time to read a whole book these days. But if it's someone you really know you resonate with, someone that you're like, this person, I want to embody this person into my being, then read the book. And, even do a ritual, do a meditation around that, so you can really take on the aspects. Because that person's downloaded their consciousness in a very basic form, but they've downloaded the essence of who they consider themselves to be, or who they want to put out to the world at least, into that book. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with books, but I would really only recommend reading a book, a non-fiction books, when you are absolutely sure you want to embody that person's being into yours. So take company training when it comes up. He suggests, I say, seek out these personal development workshops that further you. I would thoroughly recommend you look at certain workshops, weekend workshops, that are really going to go to town and embody, again, this whole idea of whatever it is you're wanting to take on or learn in an environment where you can play with it, right? A microcosm for the macrocosm that is life. Just be careful not to become like a personal development junkie. I've known and I've had the pleasure of knowing people who've just gotten way too addicted to personal development, myself included, that we sort of, more importantly even than that, we should still have harmony in our lives and not get just addicted to it, but like there needs to be in balance with doing, right? It's one thing to just keep learning through this process of this microcosm, and then not actually express it in the real world, and actually go out there and be whatever it is and practice whatever it is you've gone and learned in the real world. So I think it comes in ebbs and flows. What else have we got here? Let's just check in on this. Actually, we're getting some, getting some more comments. Thanks, Ange. Having dinner with my higher-ups and half the team didn't want to come. It was an amazing opportunity to pick their brain and get free food. Executive book summaries, you can just look those up. A lot of them you can get for free as well. There are cool membership sites that don't cost much, and you can get tons and tons and tons of these things delivered every day. There's a couple I will link below that give like free daily books on executive summaries of these particular books. So you can just consume those one a day if you were committed to it. So I'd recommend that, and I'll paste the link below. So what else did he talk about? You know what? I could turn this into a two-part thing. I've got enough here to do this. My goodness. I think I will. I will turn this into a two-part series, guys, but I'll just finish off with a couple more. I did mention, I'm just going to skip forward. There it is. This is the last point. I'll make this, 2 more points, and I'll make those my last points. So, learn from your competition. So here's a quote of him speaking now. I probably visited more headquarters offices than of other discounters than anybody else ever. Right. So this is a quote from the guy who created Walmart. Right. And he also said, check everyone who is our competition, and don't look for the bad. Look for the good. Everyone is doing something right. So that's a big one. I gave one of my mentees the advice to go and ring all of the other studios around that were doing what she was doing, and just be an interested client and just check it out and see, be curious. Maybe do take them up on their offer, but definitely ring up and just get the process of how that competition works. What is it they offer? How do they treat you? What is the experience you have? And of course, the prices and all those kind of more mercurial aspects of your competition. But damn, you need to get in there and learn what everyone else is doing in whatever field you're in, even in life. If someone, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, the last bit I want to say is to get outside input. So this is a big one because we can only have we've got our unlimited perception, and even that is colored by a whole stack of things. So we're not going to be able to get a real honest feedback loop unless we can do a real check-in with these people. And one of the companies that I definitely recommend, in fact, it's my most recommended personal development course, is the Landmark Forum. One of the things they teach in their advanced course, or sorry, their one of their more advanced courses that they have, is to do an interview with people. So how it works, and I'll give you my modified version of their interview, right? So the first thing you do is you make sure the person really feels safe in giving you feedback, right? So they have to get a big disclaimer and just say, basically, look, I'm just really looking for your honest feedback on who I am and how I work, because I want to learn and grow and I want to be the best person I can be. Good little preamble you could use, right? And then ask them in order, what are my strengths? Okay, and just get them to list off your strengths as they see them. Take notes on this. I thoroughly recommend you take notes on this. Ask them, what are my strengths? And then go, well, what's my weaknesses? All right? And then really let them talk out their weaknesses and reassure them that you're not going to hold this stuff against them, and really check in, by the way, on the weaknesses. That is that anything? Is that it? Sorry, is that all? And then just ask them a couple of times, is that all, before moving on to the next. What can you count on me for? And let them again say all of what they have to say around what they can count on you for, and then what can you not count on me for? So if you ask those 4 questions, you'll be amazed at the input, especially if you've made them feel safe, the beautiful feedback that they can give you around who you genuinely are. That's it. I'm going to hit pause on that because I've got about twice as much more information to give you guys. I welcome any more comments you guys have, any more thoughts. And, thank you so much for coming on board and saying hi, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Love and success to you and yours. Take care. Mwah.